Virgos, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for May 16th to the 22nd of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link because the signs are different. So Virgo, this week we have a full moon on Saturday, which is illuminating two key areas for us because that full moon is going to be right on the cusp between Libra and Scorpio. So for you, this is your second house of your self-reliance, of your material security, and your third house of communication and of intellect, which has been a very important part of your chart, in fact, which has been this Mars retrograde and Saturn retrograde of the third. Maybe rethinking, re-examining, the everyday stuff, maybe the correspondence, maybe in terms of what you're learning, how your mind works, learning more about that, and learning more about communication, and exchanging, which is what the third house also represents. So as the week unfolds, there's more of this illumination, more of this energy, and I think by week end, there is this awareness and cultivation of these two areas. Specifically, if over the past 6 months you have been involved with something relating to your self-reliance, finances, material security, or learning, or sharing, or exchanging, or communication, which is the third. So we'll look at this in detail here in just a few minutes, but approaching this full moon, we do have a very important aspect this week going into next, and this is Jupiter squaring up to Saturn. Okay, so this is nothing new. This aspect has been in orb since August of last year, and then had the second aspect back in March, and now we're in the final aspect here. It's going to go exact here, May 26th, going into June. So this is all about slow and steady growth, and this is specifically involving, again, the communication and the correspondence and the intellectual stuff, the patience, steady growth with that, which has been the Saturn, but also involving your spirituality, having more faith, having more trust, having more acceptance in your life, which is very, there's plenty of opportunities here. You've had the North Node recently go into Leo this year. You've had Jupiter here. Jupiter went direct last week. So with these possibilities to have a bit more of perhaps this alone time or spiritual side in your life, all right, there's plenty of opportunities for that. But the key with the square this week and going into next is that it's all done with patience. All right, it's all done with this steady, slow and steady way, because Jupiter is expansion and is possibilities, but Saturn is limitation, hopefully self-imposed limitation. This is the long-term pleasures and successes versus the short-term ones. So seeing where you can cultivate that grounded and mature approach to spirituality, or to having this very stable side to peace and acceptance. I mean, it all starts with acceptance. That's what the 12th house is about, which leads to peace, right? So that's that square and the expansion limitation. It really becomes very constructive when we're open to working on that in that both expansive and patient way. So that's going to be strongest next week. It'll be exact, I believe, Thursday next week, but definitely in the backdrop. Now here on Thursday, we do have Venus shifting into your 11th house, which has been this new area of focus for you. Or excuse me, not your 11th, your ninth house. Because the sun just went into here last weekend, in fact. So there's a lot of this energy and prana for you to gain from the adventurous spirits of life. Okay, the ninth house is about expanding your horizons, seeing what's possible, tapping into that adventurous spirit. And so it's a good area of energy, good area of focus for you. Whether it's going out into nature, whether it's going for a walk, could even be on an intellectual level, such as studying philosophy and that kind of spirituality, right? Connecting to matters abroad, and maybe even with Venus going into this ninth house midweek onward, connecting to people abroad, and understanding more about what you value with these, more expansive, adventurous qualities of life. All right, so it could be expansion on a literal sense, but I think it's great to be connecting with nature and maybe getting that external type of adventure a bit, but internally, understanding more about what life is about and your specific life path and your worldview and your philosophy and all this, great sources of energy, and I think you can enjoy that stuff quite a bit this second half of the week. Now, as we approach the weekend on Saturday, that's when that full moon is going to be exact So this is going to be, again, relating to an awareness of where you can continue to cultivate your self-reliance. All right, so continuing to move forward with that, cultivating those things. Some things might be working in that area, some things might not. Usually it's both. And so seeing that, letting go of what's not working, or adjusting and remodifying what's not working, and then putting energy into what is, right? And so this is a good place of energy, good place to be putting energy. Of course, with that Mars retrograde, be flexible, be adaptive, try new things, rework, redo perhaps some of that financial or material stuff, because Mars is going to go retrograde into Libra here next week. Okay. Now, in terms of the third house, this is involving, again, the exchanges and communication and mental energy. All right. So if there's anything specifically you've been involved with here over the past 6 months, like for some of you, it could be a new course. For some others, it might be you've been reading. Some of you might be writing a book or something like that. Some of you might just be very busy in the everyday sphere, right, with your work and stuff, especially because Saturn rules your sixth. And maybe it's the correspondence and that kind of thing. So whatever it is, a culmination now of understanding about communication, about how your mind works. And again, being flexible and adaptive here, trying new things, and that's the retrograde energy. So that's the full moon. It is also going to be opposing up to Venus. So I do want to say that there is this importance of balance, because what's happening here is this is the house of the right side of the brain. It's like what's possible, the adventurousness. And then this is more of the practical, the left side of the brain. But they're really one and the same. What's possible is practical. What's practical is possible, right? And that's a good balancing point, I think, relating to this. Now, as we go into Sunday, your ruler is going to go direct, Mercury. Okay, so there is this shift going into next week where I think you guys are coming out of what is a reflective time, or just a more of a time where it is good to be a bit reflective, or to bring extra attention onto self and reevaluate things. And I think specifically in terms of reevaluating what really matters to you in life, so there's been this transformation since last week, all these planets going into your ninth. Now, things might still be deep. It's still good to be diving deep with self, re-examining, how you can open up with self primarily, which then leads to intimacy and these kinds of matters with your relationships. Some of you might be reflecting on shared resources or codependency, where you can free yourself from unhealthy attachments or debts or bonds, unhealthy bonds, but learning about healthy bonds, learning about those deeper connections and all this. So that's shifting. That's going to be more so next week. But all the stuff you're learning about this 8th house is starting to move forward going into next week. And you guys are coming out of, I think, what will be a transformational time, especially as Mercury makes his way into the 9th. All right, so Virgos, I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.